Surprise! It's Two Chicks, One Book Plug Tuesday.
We're dropping in early to shine a little spotlight on a book you should absolutely know about.
Today we're giving some well-deserved love to an author who deserves a spot on your shelf.
You know the drill. Fangirling, chaos, and probably a fictional crush or two.
Let's get plot twisty! Hey guys, and welcome back to Two Chicks and a Plot Twist.
This episode is extra exciting because we're covering our book plug of the week, and today we're talking about Sanctuary by Ember Markussen.
We're giving you a taste of what this book is about and why it's worth picking up.
Be sure to stick around because at the end of this episode, we actually get to hear directly from the author herself.
All right, guys, let's get into it. Sanctuary by Ember Markussen. And this one was very recently published. It was published in August of this year, which so exciting. I love getting to highlight new authors on here. And then the genre of this one is magical realism, which we love.
Yeah, that is right up our alley.
Yes.
So we are so excited to talk about this one. And a little bit about the book. Yeah, it's magical realism, but it also has women's fiction in here. And the summary is, sometimes you need to embrace your shadow before you find light. When Elizabeth Witt inherits a tiny bed and breakfast in the forests of New England, she jumps at the chance to build a simpler life for herself and her teenagers. But she arrives to find the property a dilapidated mess, with irate neighbors and an unfamiliar community. Handsome handyman Joe keeps sending her mixed signals, and her son seems hell-bent on bringing all of their old problems into new places. Failure is threatening all of Elizabeth's hopes when she discovers something magical on her land. Something that is calling her into the woods at night and begging her to surrender.
As the autumn leaves turn, Elizabeth isn't sure if she's falling apart or falling into place. Despite the obstacles in her path, she can't bring herself to give up on her new home. Is the voices that whisper to her telling her to push on, the friend who sees her for who she truly is? Or is it the way that Joe holds her hand when she's afraid? All paths lead to the oak grove. One way or another, Elizabeth will have to descend into its depths to find the light she's looking for in Solace Spring. The magic is the darkness. A story of finding yourself in the seasons of the earth, Sanctuary offers true seekers a second chance to come home to love.
Yes, and this book is for fans of Adrienne Young, Erin Morgenstern, and Gilmore Girls. All of you fans will fall in love with this cozy fall read, blending shadow work, twin flames, and the burdens of motherhood against the backdrop of Massachusetts maple trees. Elizabeth's journey is a mirror for the modern woman's heart. Early readers are captivated by the tender intimacy of her tale. For those who dream of a quieter world and a simpler life, within the pages of Sanctuary is the home you long for.
Perfect time to read it. By the time this episode comes out, we are still in the fall. So
Yes.
Perfect time to pick up this one, Sanctuary. And so a little bit about its author, Ember Markussen, author of Sanctuary. She weaves a story of soulful storytelling and shadow work. A writer and a healer, she conducts transformational breathwork sessions in addition to writing regular contributions to Enchanted Living magazine. Ember is a sought-after storyteller and a sister of Avalon, where she continues her priestess training. She holds undergraduate at Smith College and master's UCI degrees in history and is certified in breathwork, Reiki, and end-of-life doula work. Ember is passionate about feminine energy, sacred union, conscious parenting, authentic expression, and the creation of a new earth through slow living. Her cottage of creation is in Southern California for now. She mothers 2 children, 2 cats, 3 ducks, and devotes herself tending her own heart. You can keep up with her at thestorypriestess.com.
Wow. She sounds like she knows a lot of it, like such inspirational everything. I feel like I need to have a sit down one-on-one
I know.
with Ember because I feel like she knows so much just about the universe, and
I know.
I feel like I need that knowledge.
I want to do like one of her like breathing exercises with
Yes.
her. I need to be there with her. Wow.
So cool. And for this book, some of the themes and tropes that are in this are motherhood, self-discovery, home and community, masculine and feminine energy, slow burn, and earth magic, which me and Haley, you already know, we can get behind anything that has to do with magic, anything,
Yes.
any modern world, fantasy world, like magic. Okay, we're there. But that is just so unique. The storyline, everything about it. We're going to go ahead, guys, and we have a few sample pages. We're going to
Yes.
go ahead and read and stick around and listen in.
Yes.
Yes.
So the prologue starts with wind carves whispers into the darkness of the forest. Shuddering leaves tap on the shoulder of their neighbor, urging, pass it on, pass it on. Branch by branch, they carry unspoken words, like a message in a bottle. They run into the veins of each green finger, pass it to the sap of the wood, and slide down, down, down. Trunks swallow it to a sweet agony of thirst. It spills slowly through to the roots, traveling towards the mycelium, where eager mushrooms unleash their spores to send the message further afield. Once more on the wings of the wind, the circle of oaks and elders sways, west to east, right to left, to a song only they could hear. They stretch from the subterranean network to the wide space of the sky. Moonlight washes over the little cusp, turning green to silver to white, a forest bathed in milk. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Pass it on, she's coming. All right, guys, well, that was a little taste of Sanctuary, and it was so good. And there are so many really good reviews on Goodreads, so if we pulled a couple, we're going to read some for you. And the first review reads, Sanctuary was exactly what my heart and soul needed. It took me to a magical place, helped me awaken my dormant senses, and revive parts of my heart that I had shut down. I'm grateful to experience the wonders of this book. That is short, but that is very mighty and powerful.
Yes.
And I think as an author, just to read that someone has been awakened, it's just so beautiful.
I know. It must feel so good just to know how impactful the story that you wrote means to the rest of the world. So good. And that's not it. The reviews don't stop there. That's not the only 5-star review, guys. There's this one, and it says, by chapter 3 of Sanctuary by Ember Markussen, I was ready to call out from work, curl up on the couch with some tea, and read all day. My in-progress list of books is long, but this is a book I couldn't put down. I felt like a kid sneaking in a few pages before work, at lunch, before cooking dinner, whenever I had a few minutes, eager to know what would happen next. Ember beautifully weaves family dynamics, magic, and the longing to find a true home into powerful character development. The challenges the characters face are real and relatable. The shadow work is raw and palpable. The relationships are rich and complex. And there's a dash of magic for good measure. I eagerly look forward to reading more from Ember.
Aw, that was so sweet.
Those words are just so kind.
I know.
I love. And we also got to send Ember some questions, and we get to hear what she said. So we're going to go ahead, listen into those, and see what she has to say. What inspired you to write your book? Was there a specific moment or personal story that sparked the idea?
So Sanctuary was actually inspired by a real place called the Three Sisters Sanctuary, which is in Goshen, Western Massachusetts. And it is this beautiful place that is an intersection of art and nature. And I visited it with my children a few years ago, and I just knew that there was a story here, that somehow this place was trying to give me a story. And I sat down there with my laptop all ready to write it, and nothing came out. And I visited again a year later, and once again I sat and I listened and I waited, and nothing happened. And it wasn't until I separated from my husband that I suddenly opened this floodgate of all of this material, this whole story, this whole place of Solace Spring, that all began with one trip to see the falling leaves.
How would you describe the heart of your book to someone who's never read it?
At its heart, Sanctuary is the story of a woman doing what women do. And I cannot emphasize that enough. That when faced with what seemed to be impossible circumstances, this single mother, Elizabeth Witt, takes her 2 teenage children and moves them across the country chasing a dream for which she has no skills, no experience, no help, no community, no faith, and yet she manages to turn it into a reality. And that's what women do all the time. And we always congratulate them, lift them up. Yeah, girl, because we see the external work. And what we miss is the internal transformation that we have to go through as women in order to bring this magic into the world. And so the story of Sanctuary is about that, about Elizabeth's transformation, as someone going from fear to strength, someone learning to heed their inner voice, someone learning to connect back to the land and to other people. It is about the growth of her children and how they are able to grow because of who she grows into. It's about the growth of the community of Solace Spring, this quirky little town in New England that has all these wonderful characters in it, and seeing how the connections slowly sort of come to life. And then, of course, it's about that love connection as well. And Elizabeth, having lost love, now being able to find it again in a new person and facing her fears of losing it and coming out of the other side. Because, of course, when we are able to love, we create a safe space for our heart, and that is the sanctuary.
What's a theme in your book that you hope readers really feel or walk away thinking about?
So the tagline of the book is "The magic is in the darkness." And if I want readers to walk away with one thing, it is that all of us face darkness someplace in our life. Yeah, we have all faced some sort of circumstance that has really caused us to look at ourselves and to look at what we are afraid of and to look at where we are stuck. Yeah. And that space is dark. And beyond that space is a void. And we can't see what we're stepping into. Just like when Elizabeth leaves California for Massachusetts, she has no idea what she's moving into. When she leaves behind one relationship and tries to embrace another, she has no idea what she's going into. And this book acknowledges what a frightening place that is, to really sit there in the darkness of your own soul and say, I just don't know if I'm strong enough to move forward. And to realize that that is where the magic happens. That is where we are transformed as people. That is where we find the light within ourselves that guides us out of that darkness and gives us the strength to cross that unknown space. And so if I were to think about one thing that I really wanted readers to take away, it is that darkness, as frightening as it is exactly where we want to be. It is exactly where we're going to find the magic that we need in our own unique circumstance to move forward. And it is exactly where Elizabeth finds the magic waiting for her.
What makes your book stand out from others in your genre?
What sets Sanctuary apart from the rest of the magical realism genre, which is already kind of a weird genre, right? People have a lot of feelings about magical realism, which generally is defined as a book that takes place within this version of reality, the one that we're in, but with magical elements that are sort of limited in scope and not well known to the rest of reality, but nevertheless present. It's not fantasy. It's not sci-fi. It's not romance. It's, so when you think about books by Alex Harrow or Adrienne Young, things like Last of the Moon Girls, all of those are going to be magical realism. I think Sanctuary differs because of its spiritual side. I've been a spiritual healer for the past few years, working a lot with women, frequently with women in midlife, women who are doing deep shadow work. That's really my jam. And I think it kind of shows in this book. In that it's not just magic for magic's sake. It's not like, ooh, look, and then fairies. The magic within Sanctuary is very specific to the soul's journey that we make in this reality. It's almost, real life magic, if you want to think about it that way. Where spiritual awakenings and the transformations that happen to us as we evolve as humans are really the centerpiece of the magic in Sanctuary. And everything in there, everything that happens in the book is very much real. These are real stories that real people go through. And the magic that is alluded to in there and the magic that is described is nothing but what we already go through internally. Yeah, so it's just sort of taking the internal and making it external. And if your awakening journey includes glowing mycelium paths that take you into an oak forest of ancestral origin, awesome. You will love this book because clearly it was made just for you. But I really think that the difference between Sanctuary and so many other magical books out there, and there are a lot right now, is just that this is real magic. This is accessible magic. This is magic that you can, in fact, do for yourself, and it will transform who you are, just like it transforms Elizabeth.
Is there a particular scene or moment in your book that you're most proud of? What makes it special to you?
It's going to sound silly, but the scene that I'm probably most proud of is one where Elizabeth, who is frustrated as hell with parenting and with her new business and with her broken ass house and her snotty handyman who she kind of likes but is being rude. She's just so frustrated with everything that she goes down to the pond and she screams and she screams and she screams and she screams. And then she picks up rocks and starts breaking them. And she's just slamming one rock into another until her hands are raw. And finally, her blood falls upon the earth. And that is the first instance of magic that we see. Now, I love it for two reasons. First of all, I love that by really allowing her true feelings to come out and be demonstrated, that is the inciting force for the magic that, you can't get magic in your life if you're not willing to face who you are and what's going on. But also because I feel like it's so relatable. I do not know any mothers who have not been like, fuck this noise. Hopefully you can bleep that if you need to. But just hit that point of frustration where nothing's going right. Everything is so heavy. Everything is on our shoulders. We are carrying so very much that there is nothing to do but scream. And after screaming, do you know what she does? She goes and picks up her kids. Because that's what mothers do, is no matter how much we are holding, we find a way to release it from our body when it becomes too much. And then we just pick up and keep going. And whether that's healthy is a whole nother question, but it was just such a relatable moment of, God, this woman is super struggling and she's going to get up and do it anyway. And she's going to have some help from that point forward. So that's my favorite.
Which character or scene was the hardest to write and why?
The ending. Oh, the ending was hard. I channel my work and maybe it's just as a spiritual person, that's an accessible term to me. But when my stories come in, they come in one lump sum. And for weeks, I just stay up all nights and all days, just writing. And I don't know what's happening any better than anybody else. The story comes as it comes, and I don't necessarily know where it's going. And of course, by the end, I'm exhausted. And so when I got to the ending, I hated it because it's real. And I had a reader tell me, I'm so glad you didn't send in some fantastic prince and have everyone save the day. Because the truth is, in reality, we don't get some magical force or special deity or fairies, saving the day. We have to save the day. We have to create the ending. And sometimes those endings are lovely, but I think we've been conditioned to expect all of them to be happy, pretty Disney endings with a fluffy gown and happily ever after. And so many times in our real lives, then, we think we've fallen short. We think we've failed because our endings don't look like that. And the ending to Sanctuary isn't happily ever after, or maybe it is. Maybe it's happily just beginning. Maybe it's not a beginning or an ending at all. It simply is what is, because so often in life, there's not a marked ending, right? It's just something changed. And so I think that the ending is a little uncomfortable for us because it's not what we're conditioned to expect. And it was hard for me as a writer because it's not what I wanted it to be, but it's what it was. And I think it's really important that it is real.
Who is your most misunderstood character, and what do you wish readers knew about them?
My most misunderstood character. It's kind of a toss-up, honestly, between Elizabeth and Jo. But as Elizabeth, the main character, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I'll talk about Jo for a second. It's funny because I love Jo, obviously, or I wouldn't have written him this way. I love Jo, and I have been really surprised at some women who are just like, I could not with that dude. And what's interesting is why they find him off-putting. They find Jo off-putting because he wouldn't make a decision about what kind of relationship he wanted. And that seems like something that we could extend some empathy or some understanding, but I think it really rubs women in particular the wrong way, because women, the feminine energy generally, feels safe when the man is decisive. Yeah. When there is a masculine energy who is like, I want this with you, and that is what I want. We go, oh, beautiful. I feel secure. I know what's happening, right? I don't have to worry about surprises. I don't have to worry about abandonment. I know you're here and you're staying, and that's great. And that's, how modern matrimony works. And so women seem to be deeply turned off by Jo's ambivalence, yeah? And he's very much a free spirit, a wandering soul. And what I think is very frustrating for them is that he's a good guy. And I hear a lot of women going, the potential to be so wonderful. And he does have the potential to be so wonderful. And probably other books will investigate how wonderful he is. But it's quite frustrating that he won't take a stand and make a decision and become something different than what he is. And I think that that's a little uncomfortable, and it's meant to be a little uncomfortable. But I would urge readers, I guess, to try to see Jo both ways, to see the best of him as well as the worst of him.
Did you base any characters, settings, or events on real life, or did it all come from your imagination?
The reality versus the imagination. What I told my kids when I told them about this book is I said, it's like if I dropped us into like an alternate timeline in a different universe, and then having put kind of like the barest bones of ourselves in there, I just let them evolve as they were. So yes, there's a little bit, there's a little bit of me and Elizabeth, a little bit of my kids and her kids, and a little bit of other people. Jo was a person to me, and it's sort of like they have the loose parameters of people I know. And then as I write, they become something totally different. They become their own people. It's sort of like, it's the dynamics. It's the emotion that I give to each person that gets carried into the work. And so they're persons of interest to me, but only to me, purely because they represent a feeling more than they do an actual human being. And that said, there's a little bit of those people in there. And obviously, of course, the sanctuary has a great deal of the Three Sisters Sanctuary from Massachusetts in it. So I had one reader tell me that she went and looked up some videos on YouTube of Three Sisters Sanctuary after reading the book, and she was so excited to see the place, and it was just right. So I encourage you to do that exercise if you feel like it. But the town of Solace Spring, I'm really very proud of, because those characters came to support the people that I put there. I put my little family in the middle of this fictional place, and this fictional place literally grew up around us and built the rest of us. And I think that that's such a cool thing, and such a great place to be for me and for everyone else.
When can readers expect your next book? What can you tell us about it?
The next story. Well, I'm very pleased to say that I love Solace Spring so much that I am going to be staying there for a while. It's such a great, quirky little town with that sort of Stars Hollow vibe to it. And there are so many characters who have stories to tell us. So I will say that I'm going to be looking at a different character in Solace Spring next time, which is not to say we won't come back to Elizabeth and Joe and their story. But I'm going to be looking a little bit further back, I think, in the history of Solace Spring. I am hoping that that story will come out sometime next summer. That is the loose plan right now, but also I haven't started it yet, so let's take that with a grain of salt. But I'll start posting some teasers, hopefully in the new year. Like I said, these things just come to me as channeled stories, and I've gotten a little bit on this, but my kids told me, Mom, please don't write another book until next year after Christmas. And so I have been holding off the divine downloads just for a little bit longer. And yeah, I hope that everyone is ready to feel a little bit hot and spicy and fiery when they return to Solace Spring in 2026.
All right, guys, that was our little interview with Ember. And so if you're wanting to know where you can pick up Sanctuary, you can get this one at Amazon and also at Barnes & Noble.
Yes, and you can find Ember on social media, specifically Instagram, at The Story Priestess. And their website is thestorypriestess.com. So those links will also be linked below in the show description. So be sure to go check her out and get the book, because this is not one you want to miss.
Like I said before, best time to read it is now. We are in the fall. We all need the super cozy vibe. So best time to read it.
Yes.
This one is on my TBR as well, so I'm excited to pick this one up.
A huge thank you to Ember for sharing this story with us. We are so grateful you trusted us to help introduce Sanctuary to new readers.
We also want to thank Ember for sending in those voice notes. It added such a special layer into today's episode.
If you haven't picked up Sanctuary yet, now is the perfect time.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to Two Chicks and a Plot Twist. We'll be back Thursday with another episode. Bye.
Bye.